Not that
None of
much
us
more.
saw any Carson Strong in the stinking games. They didn't even make him a crash test dummy. It was ridiculous how they used him in the game or didn't use him in the games. Was he really that bad in practice?
Yes. It was bad. It was. I thought Clayton Thorson was bad. He was worse than Clayton Thorson.
You got your Mega Mac guys here on Birds 365. McDonald and McMullen hanging with you. Chris Franklin from NJ.com should join us less than 20 minutes from now. Thank Paul Domwich for jumping in with his measured opinion, as he always does when he comes on with us. All right. I want to give props to one of our guys on the stream here. You just mentioned Howie Roseman's going to speak today. GI Zoe Sports Radio, who streamed in just a couple of minutes ago. I really want to hear his sorry ass. Well, wouldn't go quite the way that he chose to go, but his point is a good one. Talking about Howie Roseman, excuse as to why you give an undrafted free agent that kind of signing bonus. We know he's referring to, but then don't play him any snaps in practice or the preseason. Honestly, one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. I did want to talk to you about quarterback, third quarterback, where the Eagles are going to go from quarterback. Our own Rick Saratello, who comes on after us today, who I've been having on as a guest for over a decade. I think he's great at the NFL draft stuff, puts a lot of time and effort into it, gets to know these guys. I've been following his ranking, having him on as a guest for years. He stuck behind Carson Strong all year last year. Had him rated highly in his draftable quarterbacks. Even when he wasn't drafted, he still believed in him. And that was one of the reasons why. And I saw Carson Strong play a couple of games last year, and he looked good to me. Didn't wow me, but he looked good enough. All right, he can be an NFL backup type guy. So I may have cut him a little bit more slack just because Rick was as staunch in his support of him. You were at practice every day. I went to one practice. You saw a lot more of Carson Strong than I did.
Not that
None of
much
us
more.
saw any Carson Strong in the stinking games. They didn't even make him a crash test dummy. It was ridiculous how they used him in the game or didn't use him in the games. Was he really that bad in practice?
Yes. It was bad. It was. I thought Clayton Thorson was bad. He was worse than Clayton Thorson when Clayton was here. Man, every time he got out there, it was ugly, Jody. It was. The Eagles have these developmental periods where, a lot of third teamers get reps, and every time he got, it was just as likely to be an interception. It was like Jimmy Garoppolo in the NFC Championship game. It was bad. He didn't earn his reps over Reed Sinnett, who wasn't good either. Maybe in a different era, you'd have a little bit more time. You have the more preseason games. You have the more practices. You have the more reps to split out. In this environment, in today's environment, when everything's at a premium, and Nick said after the game, before the game, actually, when he was talking about practices, we wanted to get the reps for Jalen Hurts and Gardner Minshew. And then for the game against Miami, he wanted to get reps for Gardner Minshew and Reed Sinnett, because those are the guys that are going to be here or might be here in the case of Sinnett. More likely on the practice squad than the active roster. And that's how they went about it.
That's my next question. We can get to that. But
yeah,
I want no part of Reed Sinnett here.
Well, if you want no part of Reed Sinnett here, which I have no problem with, I think they can do better. I'm with you. You don't want Carson Strong here, because Carson Strong ain't better than Reed Sinnett. It's not close, Jody. It was a blowout.
I get that, and I trust you. You need a scout's eye as much as you have a scout's eye as anybody else. Here's the question that I have for you about a question that you may or may not ask Howie Roseman, that anybody may or may not ask Howie today. My father was in professional sports. He went from being a scout to being someone whose job it was to scout scouts. And then he became a scout again after he decided $1 million decisions and high pressured situations were no longer for him. Just go back out and evaluate the player and put a grade on him, give you a scouting report on the guy. But when he was the general manager, that was his job. He needed to scout his scouts. Other people were watching the players. You intook the information. You decided how much was accurate and the like. You do your own film work, whatever. A little different with football than it is scouting high school players in Major League Baseball. But will anyone ask Howie Roseman today, who was the scout who recommended Carson Strong? Because you had to believe in somebody there, Howie. You gave him $300,000 guaranteed money, and he was a ghost during the preseason games, and you couldn't cut him fast enough when you had to get to 80 men. Somebody advised Howie in that role to make that decision. Any chance he throws somebody under the bus today?
No. And no one will ask that question for a couple reasons. One, Howie's not going to tell you. Now, he might tell me in private. He's not going to throw one of his scouts under the bus. And the perception is, and this is wrong. This part of it is wrong. The perception is that $320,000 in the NFL is a big deal. It's not a big deal. All it indicates is it's a rounding error. All it indicates is they thought at the start of the process that Carson Strong had a chance to be an NFL player, and they valued him to the point of an undrafted. Remember, you're starting as an undrafted free agent. They valued him very highly as an undrafted free agent. That is fair to say. That is very fair to say. When you cut any undrafted free agent, the one who got the most guaranteed money or the one who got the least, which is usually zero, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter from a standpoint of the finances of the football industry. If he made the team, Jody, the rookie minimum salary is over $700,000 now. So he'd be making over $700,000. And that 320, it wouldn't be in addition to that 320.
Right,
that
just
320
guaranteed. Right.
Yeah, is folded into that. It is, the 320 is meaningless from a football salary cap management standpoint. Other than, if you want to put a percentage on it, 98 or 99%, right, because you gave them $1, you gave them something, but. The people are overreacting to the number because of if he stunk up the joint, you move on. That's every undrafted free agent. And then, you pump out your chest if Reed Blankenship makes the team, and they gave him, I think, $50,000. Hey, I got Reed Blankenship.
Right. Perception plays big in this, John.
Yeah.
Actual reality is the point you're making. You're right. It's not that big a deal. Jeffrey Lurie has the 10th most valuable franchise in the National Football League, worth, what is it, like $4 billion? Yeah. Dallas is number one at $6 billion, and the Eagles are high 3 or low
Eagles are always last in the NFC East. And I have no idea how the Washington Commanders could be worth more than the Eagles with that mess of a stadium, of an owner. They can't find a place to give them a stadium. Those numbers are ludicrous. Nothing against Forbes. Sorry, Forbes. I mean,
Forbes is pretty good at crunching those numbers.
Well, how are they pretty good? How are they getting to the Washington Commanders? Because of the markets?
They've been an accepted industry standard for how many years, John?
That doesn't mean they're above criticism. Valuation. You know what we know? We know the Denver Broncos are worth $4.6 billion because they were for sale. And that's what they got. That's what we. Valuation is a bunch of hooey. It doesn't matter unless you got some. A, it doesn't matter unless you're selling. B, then you got to find somebody to buy it. And if you can get somebody to buy the Washington Commanders for more money than the Philadelphia Eagles right now, whew, they're poor businessmen.
Yeah, but the Washington Commanders could be for sale because there is an owner that's under siege as compared to the Philadelphia Eagles, which I don't think Jeff Lurie is planning on selling. I think he's planning on handing it over to his son, who, oh, by the way, we haven't mentioned in months. At some point, we got to bring Jeffy's son back into this.
Maybe Julian picked Carson Strong.
Yeah.
He'll be fine.
If that's the case, you know that's staying under wraps. You'll never get an answer on or off the record, McMullen. You'll never get an answer on that one if that's the case. All right, here's my point about Carson Strong and Reed. I had a buddy on from Miami, Zach Krantz, does the morning show on WQAM to do a Dolphin preview for me on CBS, and he mentioned Reed sin it to win it. That's what the Dolphins actually thought last year. But the Eagles came in, swooped in, grabbed him when he hit waivers. He stinks too. Maybe not as bad as the Detroit Lions, but he stinks too. If you're telling me Carson Strong was worse than him in practice, oh my God.
It wasn't even close, Jody.
Mackerel, he had to stink. He stinks out loud, I guess. But Reed Sinnett just stinks, period. Chris Streveler out there on the open market. Now, give me comes the
Jody. They cut for Streveler?
Excuse me?
Did they cut him?
Oh, yes.
Oh, what? See, I haven't seen
because they have Wilson, they have Flacco, they have Mike White.
Yeah,
they've got 3 quarterbacks. So there's no Streveler had no chance. He was just out there. He was supposed to be the crash test dummy that Reed Sinnett turned out to be. Oh, except he kept moving teams down the field and sticking it in the end zone and winning all 3 games in the final possession of the game for the Jets the last couple of weeks. He proved he can throw. He proved he can run. He could be number 3 here in Philadelphia. He's 4 with the Jets. Other teams, he'd certainly be a 4. Is that a guy that the Eagles should be looking at? Because I think for the quarterback factory that the Philadelphia Eagles is supposed to be, they got 2 losers this year. For me, Carson Strong, loser. I have to take your word for it because I didn't see it, but I believe you and I believe the Eagles. And Reed Sinnett, I saw with my own 2 eyes. He can't play. He can't throw. He's not a quarterback. That's why I think there's a better chance the Eagles make a roster play for a quarterback than a tight end, Johnny Mac, should they be in the cornerback, third-string cornerback market.
Yeah, I mean, they should look for an upgrade, whether it's the practice squad or the 53. They should try to get better than Reed Sinnett. Streveler, I remember because, with the Jets game, and I didn't know where he came from. I don't think he's their type of quarterback for the developmental prospect because he's too old. Number one, he played in Canada, as I recall, won a Grey Cup, I believe. I don't think they want a 27, 28-year-old guy. I think they want a developmental quarterback in that role. A guy who's, 22.
All right, so let me give you another one. I'll give you another one. What happens if the guy who marched it up and down the field against the Philadelphia Eagles this last week, Streveler did it week 1 in the preseason, Skylar Thompson.
Yeah, well, Skylar, yeah. Skylar's more of the fit. Because Skylar's a rookie, so yeah, I could see that. And if they can get better,
he was a 7th-round pick, and Eagles didn't have any 7th-round picks this past year. Yeah. So maybe they even had a pretty good report on the guy and would have been interested and may have used a 7th-round pick if they had the chance. They didn't ever have the chance. He, as you say, fits there. If their plan is we need a young guy, we need a developmental guy. If that guy shakes out, I'm claiming him. I'm putting the claim in immediately. I'm not even waiting to negotiate. He's mine if the Dolphins decide to cut him today.
Yeah, Nick seems very comfortable because we asked him this down in Miami. Seems very comfortable with the 2 quarterbacks on the 53 philosophy. He doesn't have an issue with it. Howie's tended to want to keep 3, and he's in charge. I don't know if I just claim him to put him on the 53. If you can get him on the practice squad.
But if you had to, so you wouldn't claim him to put him on the 53.
I don't
think Thompson's good enough.
I don't want a third quarterback on my 53 unless I can get, a real guy that I know. Um, I can put him on the practice
So
squad.
which is, do you want a real guy you know or a young guy who hasn't shown anything yet, but it's developmental?
No, I'm saying my personal opinion is I don't want a third quarterback on the 53. Um, there's no need for it, especially in today's world where you have the 60-man practice squad, 16-man practice squad. You have the 6 veterans. There's no need for it. You can have a special teams player that you maybe use, and then if injuries happen, then you just elevate them the next week. Um, I'd rather, from a strategy standpoint, I'd rather go that direction. There's nobody out there good enough um, to waste a 53-man roster spot. They
All
don't
right.
want a veteran, so there's nobody out there good enough.
So let me make this the last question before we take a break. And Chris Franklin from NJ.com scheduled to join us next. The past couple of years, I was okay on game day when the Eagles only had 2 active quarterbacks. If the starter goes down via injury and the backup comes in and the backup turns his ankle, somebody else has got to get behind center for however many
And you don't
plays
have
are left
Greg
in the
Ward
game.
anymore.
Greg Ward is gone. He was the guy. He was the emergency quarterback. He was given his walking papers. You know I'm a fan. I'm a little bummed out. Truth be told, yeah, I knew it was coming, so it didn't bother me that I had prepared myself for the fact that Greg Ward, even though it might have come a day earlier than it could have, it was coming. There was no dodging that bullet. Knew it was happening before 4 o'clock today. Who's their emergency quarterback?
I'd have to think about that. Maybe they can go Lane. Lane played in junior college. Maybe they can have the first 6'6", 330-pound emergency quarterback. I'm sure some of the receivers played quarter. Look, you're screwed at that point. You know you're screwed. But I can't worry about that. Jalen Hurts, it doesn't have a history of significant injury. Gardner Minshew doesn't have that history. I mean, if you're down to the third quarterback, you're screwed in the NFL. Most teams are screwed if they're down to number 2. So, I mean, I can't.
But you have to at least contemplate what you would do if thrown into that situation.
Well, yeah, you contemplate it.
Nick Sirianni can't on the sideline go, we don't have a third quarterback. You win. And walk off the field. No, you have to finish the game. There has to be a plan in place.
Exactly. You contemplate it. But I'll say this, and I'll look at it, and I'll try to think about who played quarterback in the past, and we'll get Chris. But how long did they have Greg Ward?
3 years, right?
A little bit.
3 or 4.
How much did he play quarterback?
He never played quarterback.
Well, so, I mean, what are we worried about?
But he took, now you would know better than me, and they might have done so when you guys aren't allowed in practice. He probably took a couple of reps.
No, he didn't take a quarterback rep. He had a couple trick plays. No, they don't get reps.
That counts as
no. Well, I meant as getting the ball as a receiver and turning into a thrower. He didn't get a rep at quarterback. They don't. As the great as I told you, my favorite quote in NFL history, surpassing John McKay, was Tom Moore talking about Jim Sorgi as the backup quarterback to Peyton Manning and why he doesn't get more reps. And Tom Moore said, if 18 gets hurt, we're fucked, and we don't practice fucked.
I do.
They don't practice fucked. They don't give reps to Greg Ward playing quarterback in practice.
Understood, and that is a great quote, but sometimes you get fucked. So you better at least have a plan for it. You may not practice it, but you better have a plan for it.
They have a contingency, but
contingency is the word.
They're not giving that guy. They don't give
love for someone like John McMullen or Chris Franklin to ask the question today of Howie Roseman. And feel free to state it this way. Listen, if you guys get fucked and you're down to your third quarterback, what are you going to do?
By the way, Jody,
if you need to say, Jody McDonald asked me to ask you, Howie, if you get fucked, what are you going to do on when you get down to your third quarterback?
Chris can take that.
I'll take the hit. I won't be there, but I'll take the hit. Go ahead, put it on me.
That would be a hit because you don't get Howie a lot. So you got to ask him relevant questions. So, Chris, you can take that hit in the green room. But I will say this. Carson Strong did get reps in practices. They ain't giving reps to Greg Ward playing quarterback. They can't even get reps for stinking poor Carson Strong.
We shall see. Chris Franklin is, at least he's enjoying Jody McDonald losing his mind here on Birds 365. I'm glad I'm entertaining someone. I hope I'm entertaining a couple of yous out there and streaming world. We'll come back. ChrisFranklinNJ.com joins us next here on Birds 365.